have is perspective on your life, other people's lives. And I feel like being able to see these guys just want to have a week in the big leagues or want to have a day in the big leagues when, I think I have parts of 9 years in the big leagues. And I feel like it just made you appreciate the game more and more. And man, I had a ton of fun, and I wish I could have had a little bit more big league time this year, but I feel like I was able to touch a lot of people along the way, help some guys in their careers, and tell them to keep going because they're right there. And when I saw these guys debuting for the first times and seeing these guys have success in the big leagues, it honestly did make me pretty happy. So, I'm still going to give it a go these next couple years, see how many years I got left. I mean, I'll be 33, so not a spring chicken anymore, but I still think that there's some left in the tank. So excited to see what's next for sure.
Yeah, what will this offseason look like for you? Have you had a chance to think about that already? And I'm always curious about athletes kind of being able to reinvent themselves. And I'm curious, maybe what your offseason prep will look like.
Yeah, hey, I think my offseason prep's going to be the same. I mean, I'll start working out early November, getting the body ready to go on for another season. But I think the thing for me is once I did communications at Vanderbilt, got my degree, I think that I think being in the booth and being able to talk baseball at the next level and being able to talk about it might be my next path after my cleats get hung up. But, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. I think that, no matter what happens, whenever my career's done, I'll be able to hang my hat on. I was able to prove a lot of people wrong that, the undersized guy who can't make it to the big leagues, I think I could do it for the guys out there that are undersized.
You mentioned real quick, rebuilding and Vanderbilt kind of almost in the same sentence. Kind of give us your thoughts. What is Coach Corbin and that program in your mind? We saw a different team, in Tennessee win it all this year. What's the next step for them to try and evolve as a program?
Yeah, I think, with NIL, you have a whole new challenge. And I think, I'm happy that I didn't have that. Listen, it would have been nice to have the cash, whatever, but I'm happy that I was able to just go through a time where I could just not worry about that stuff in college and be able to play my own baseball. But, I think that they're going to have to, revamp some things. And, obviously you guys know that Tim Corbin won't stop. And obviously I know that Tennessee winning the national title, I know that he was probably sitting there wanting to do the same thing again. And obviously having his 2 national titles, he wants at least a third before he leaves. So obviously there's work to be done, but, I can guarantee you one thing, the way that Tim Corbin operates, he's not done.
Tony Kemp's not done either.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, not at all. Although I will tell you, when you get ready to hang up the cleats and pick up the mic, we always got a spot. We got a spot right here. Right. Anytime you want to come and share some knowledge, but we would be remiss if we did not ask you before you get away, Tony. The final spots in the Major League playoff were clinched yesterday. As you look at this playoff scenario, who do you like? Who don't you like? What are your thoughts?
Man. You know what? Everybody talks about the Astros, but they're always there, baby. They're always there. The young core of the Tigers is always something to keep an eye on. Kansas City Royals lineup is always dangerous with Witt, obviously. Man, there's so many good teams. Are we going to do it National or American League?
Just give me your thoughts. I mean, either way, whatever you're thinking.
I think that I really want to see on the National League side, I really want to see the Padres play well. I think that they have
boo this man.
Yeah.
Boo.
Cutting deep.
I think that they have a lot of talent that they necessarily haven't gone deep in playoffs, and I think that they have, more to prove. I know that they were in the NLCS a year or two back, but I think that they were missing a lot of pieces this year. So we'll see about the Padres. Obviously, the Dodgers are dangerous. Obviously, yada, yada, yada. I think I want to see the Guardians play well. I think that in a guy in Jose Ramirez who almost went 40-40-40, which is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Not really talked about, but he's gonna have to put the team on his back a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna go with those two teams. Those are my two teams to look out for. I'm gonna go Padres. I'm gonna go Guardians on each side.
Okay, all right.
Versatile.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, real quick, I wanted to ask you also, hearing the rumors and hearing some chatters, you've done this before. I'm rocking the Titans gear today, but I'm hearing you're coming back maybe to see us for a game in November. I got that from our good friend, your buddy Nate Bain.
Hey.
So what about your love for the Titans? We don't get to celebrate wins very often these days, and at least they got one last night on Monday Night Football.
I'll say one thing about Nate Bain. That guy is a true gem. When you meet those guys,
Don't blow him up. Don't blow him up too much now. So
no. You know those guys who are just like salt of the earth. Like that's that guy. That's that guy. That's all I'll say about him. He's an awesome guy. Yeah, I'm gonna be going
sort of check system.
I'm gonna be going to a game in versus the Vikings. So yes, I'll be at the game. Happy to see the Titans get a dub. Had my jersey on. Had my hat on last night. Happy to see him get a dub. They're going to figure out a couple things.
There's even T-Rack from last year.
They had me on last year. I'll say one thing. If my 10-year-old self could see me now, he would be proud. I'll tell you that much, man. I remember sitting there watching the Titans lose in the Super Bowl and crying for the first time. So that's when I became a true fan. So happy to see the boys get a win. Hopefully we can at least turn something around. So we'll see.
Fun story about Tony Kemp. In another lifetime, I did a show with former Tennessee Titans offensive tackle Brad Hopkins. Tony comes on with us one night, and he's excited to ask Brad Hopkins for his autograph. And Brad's like, "Hell, I need to get your autograph."
Yeah, the tables have turned.
How the turns table? Absolutely, yeah. Tony Kemp, again, former Centennial, multi-sport athlete, former Vandy boy, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Tony, I appreciate you taking some time with us, and we'll be looking out for you, man.
I appreciate it. I think is McKenna there? You want to say hi? Okay. Kids just got home from school. Say hi.
Oh goodness.
Hi.
Oh, hey McKenna.
Hey.
Oh
So
goodness, look at all that hair.
Woo!
Man.
Oh, that's good.
Now does McKenna's hair have a Twitter account like Tony Kemp's hair once did?
It should. Honestly, it should. She's got some of the most beautiful hair I've ever seen. Yeah, we're doing potty training right now.
Oh. Good luck. Yeah. Have fun with that.
She's crushing it. That's the good thing.
Hey, well, don't talk too much about it then. You don't want to jinx it.
I know. You're right.
You're a baseball player, so you're not superstitious, but you're a little stitious. Hey man, we appreciate it.
Whoa, no, I am. She had a terrible night 2 nights ago, and I switched to sleep sack. So yes, I still am superstitious. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
He's all in on that.
Hey,
yeah.
Hang in there, man. We appreciate it.
Hey guys, hope to have me on again. Thanks for the time. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tony.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all have a good one.
When we come back here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we'll talk a little bit more baseball. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. October 1st, 1987, in a meaningless game at the Astrodome, Atlanta padded a 2-run lead with a triple steal in the 4th inning. With 2 outs and bases loaded and David Palmer, of whom I've never heard, at the plate. Jeff Blauser stole second, Ken Oberkfell stole third, and Gerald Perry stole home. Turned out to be a good move, as after Oberkfell scored on a pass ball, Palmer subsequently struck out, but the Astros got the last laugh, scoring 5 runs in the 5th and eventually walking off the visitors 6-5. That was this day in Braves history. Yesterday's games, plural, at Turner Field were not, Truist Park, excuse me, showing my age, were not meaningless. Obviously, Hurricane Helene's havoc wrought last week forced a doubleheader on Monday after last Wednesday and Thursday's games between the Braves and the Mets were unable to be played. Mets had to come back into town from Milwaukee because both the Braves and the Mets were in the mix for postseason play. And what it finally got down to, again, too long didn't read for the longest, those scenarios, but if the Mets had swept the doubleheader, then it would have been the Mets and the Diamondbacks going forth in the postseason. If the Braves had swept, it would have been the Braves and the Diamondbacks. If they split, they both go. So, back and forth, crazy back and forth ball game yesterday that the Mets finally won in game 1, 8-7, forced the Braves to have to get up off the mat and win one in the 162nd game of the season, which they promptly did, 3-0, despite not being able to start Chris Sale. And, I mean, that game was pretty much emblematic of the entire season for the Braves, because after the team has kind of been held together by bubblegum and chicken wire all year, the pitching staff yesterday was kind of held together by bubblegum and chicken wire. Grant Holmes, who had just thrown on Sunday,
Mr. Kenny Powers himself.
He has definitely got the flow going, but gave them a great start. Ronaldo Lopez came out of the bullpen for a couple of innings. You just kind of pieced things together, got out of there with a 3-0 win. Now, how hard the Mets were trying to win hard to say. They probably just decided to get some folks off their feet before they had to go back to Milwaukee for their game this evening. But the Braves got out with a win, and so they go to San Diego. As we mentioned in the rundown, they've got a 7:38 start out at Petco Field, and it has been announced A.J. Smith-Shawver will get the start for the Braves. Michael King, who was 13-9 with a 2.95 ERA during the regular season for the Padres, will go. Smith-Shawver made one start for the Braves this season, did not get a decision, went 4 1/3 innings in that start with 4 strikeouts, but really did some good work for the team last year as a rookie. So I was a little surprised that it wasn't Ian Anderson, who was a key part of the 2020 and 2021 seasons for the Braves, who underwent Tommy John surgery in April of 2023 and has not been back in a Braves uniform in the regular season since. I kind of figured it would be him given his postseason experience. But the move was for Smith-Shawver, and I don't know what that means for the rest of the series, but you know, with everything that the Braves have been through, to be able to go out, to be in the playoffs period is a big deal for them. And if they can somehow go out and steal this one. Now, it's a best of 3, the wild card series is, and all 3 games are at the higher seed. So if the Braves are to play another game at home, they got to win 2 out there.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting series because you work so hard just to get into the postseason, and San Diego is kind of a borderline chic pick, you know, to win the NL at least. As Tony kind of just touched right on it. But, I mean, hey, like I said, you got a ticket to the dance. And what's wild yesterday, you know, you go into that second game needing, obviously, the win. And then the visuals were kind of crazy as both teams were celebrating. And, I mean, so in a way, it worked out beautifully, as we kind of talked about yesterday. The poor D-backs, you know, they see the 2 teams celebrating together, and you can't, whether there was any sort of chicanery involved or not, the D-backs are sitting there but you got nobody to blame but yourself. Everybody finishes with the identical records. Tiebreakers is what gets you in, and tiebreakers is what leaves the D-backs out. And, I mean, hey, crazy things happen in the postseason. This is what makes the Major League Baseball postseason so fun in my mind. You have guys who either haven't done anything all year or guys who you're not anticipating to do much in the playoffs. They all of a sudden step up. And when those guys step up, those are great storylines, and it's where the cream kind of rises to the top.
Absolutely. So, again, the Braves and the Padres will play. First pitch is scheduled for 7:38 tonight out at Petco. That is the final game of the day. Right now, again, we've got Detroit and Houston going down at Minute Maid Field. You got a score over there?
Yep, still 30-0. Opened it during the rundown. Detroit got on the board early with a trio of runs in the second inning. And Skubal getting in and out, weaving in and out of traffic and doing well. Strikeouts, you know, a little down. He's not just blowing Houston away at the plate, but they have Chase Valdez out of the game. So Houston's offense is going to have to pick it up. They are playing at home. Maybe they'll have a chance to do so. You'd like to knock Skubal out as soon as possible. But he's they're in the 5th, and he's only at 62 pitches.
Oh,
so
goodness.
Houston's got some work to do.
Yeah, they do. At 3:08, Kansas City opens game 1 at Baltimore. That game can be seen on ESPN2 a little after the top of the hour here. And at 4:32 on ESPN, it's the Mets and the Brewers. So full day of baseball for you, and it all counts at this point. Skubal, by the way, the AL version of Chris Sale, he is your Triple Crown winner. Led the American League in wins, strikeouts, and ERA, and is likely to be your Cy Young winner in the American League. Those certainly pitching up to that right now.
Yep, those 2 guys have got those awards pretty much sewed up, and Skubal was already pretty much guaranteed that award, and that was before Detroit made this crazy run into the postseason. We talk about momentum. Some folks say it exists, some folks say it doesn't, especially in baseball. But man, Detroit has got it, and going on the road, throwing your ace in game one. I mean, what more could you want? And they're out to that 3-0 lead early. If Houston somehow comes back and wins, however, that's got to be a super deflating feeling, knowing you tossed your guy and had the win potentially there, but didn't pull it off. But in control right now, a little over halfway through the game.
Would definitely take some of the wind out of Detroit's sails if somehow Houston was able to bounce back and win this game here today. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return for hour number 2, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Stay tuned after this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios right here in Columbia, specifically on Garden Street in Columbia. A new locale, but an old face joining us here. The Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters.
Very old.
Well,
You said that.
Yeah, I'm not getting into that because Chip and I are kind of the same vintage. So
hey, we wondered about Chip and what his background would look like.
We did wonder. We were kind of expecting sand and surf and that kind of thing.
I was just going to say, it looks like he's in a podcast studio almost. Yeah, okay, all right. Enough of that.
There we go.
But so where on Garden Street are you guys now?
We are just down from, where Barino's used to be?
I'm not sure.
No. We are just down from the fire department.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So just moved in here. This is our maiden voyage.
The Arts District?
Yeah,
we're artsy, Chip. I'm sure you knew that, right?
Well, you guys are artistes. There's no question about that. And but yeah, so
we're right around the corner from the depot.
Good. I know exactly where you're at. There used to be when you turn up off of James Campbell or off of Carmack right there, and you come right up. There's a big, I don't know if it's still there or not, big house right there near where the fire department is. Back in the day, that used to be a bait shop, and also there may have been some, I don't know this for a fact, but there may have been some illegal hooch sold out of a window. I'm not at liberty to say whether there was or not. But
in Columbia,
it would have been prior to may have been prior to package stores.
That never happened.
No, never. But
and the statute of limitations has probably lapsed by now. So
I would hope so.
Okay, I feel confident you're safe for now, Chip. But at least you use a little discretion just to be extra careful.
That's right.
And I'm sure folks appreciate
that.
Not naming names.
No names. No names. Hey, tough trip to Memphis. But that was a pretty good Memphis team.
Pretty good Memphis team, that had scored 40. They'd scored a bunch of points. To hold them to 24 was a pretty good night. And again, you go back and you dissect things, and Middle for the second week in a row had a turnover inside their own 25-yard line. As a matter of fact, against Duke, we talked about it. We had 4. Mm-hmm. So they've had 5 turnovers inside their own 25 in the last 2 weeks. And, Memphis brought a corner blitz and caught Nick Vadiato from the backside. And I'm not sure who would have held on to that football right there, but a gift of 7. And then later in the ball game, Memphis has it 4th and 3, I think, right around the 10-yard line. And Middle holds them on a run play, but there's a flag. And the Blue Raiders had only 10 guys on the field and had stopped them on a run play, but they were running a guy out late. And so he was offsides, which gave Memphis a first down. And so that ended up, they had stopped them. So, 14 points were either gifts from either a turnover or a penalty, but a lot of improvement in particular, I thought, on defense, because Memphis did not go crazy throwing the football. Seth Hennigan has been really good. Matter of fact, broke his 41-game streak of throwing a touchdown pass because he did not have a touchdown throw in the ball game. Memphis did run it pretty decently, but the Blue Raiders tackle much better and also move the ball, down the field, and we're better on third down. So they made some improvement, and you just don't have a whole lot to show for it after you go through what I called the gauntlet during September. Now you have a chance to at least catch your breath just a little bit. But Coach Derek Mason said that they were going to go back, and this week would not be an off week for the Blue Raiders. This week was going to be a lot. It was going to be fundamental practices all this week. So back to blocking, tackling, and things like that before jumping into the Louisiana Tech game prep.
Chip, you feel like, and you refer to it as the gauntlet. I mean, you open with Tennessee Tech, but then you've got some combination of
Ole Miss, Western,
Ole Miss, Memphis, and you kind of got, with all due respect, the results that you may have objectively expected, but this can kind of galvanize you, right, for the rest of this season.
Well, you kind of hope. You've seen different pieces and parts of the football team get better each and every week, and you hope that you're at a point now where you're playing people who are more like yourself, and you can put all those pieces together. You hopefully you'll also you get you start getting a few people back that were injured in the first couple of weeks. Parker Hughes being back has made a huge difference, and he had not played at all until the Duke game. Xavier Williams, his move from number 3 quarterback over to starting strong safety has really been a nice move, and he's been very, very good. I mean, he's had a couple of busts, but having not played it in several years. But what he does do, he gives you an athlete back there that can get to the ball and get a receiver on the ground. So those couple of moves have been good. We've seen. Omari Kelly has just been fantastic. You think about that kid in the last year, made 4 catches total, and he had had another nearly 200-yard night, and he had the fumble at the 1-yard line that would have been a 69-yard touchdown. Instead, it's a 69-yard pass play with a fumble through the end zone for a touchback. So, a lot of things that were very close to going well did not go 100% well, and right now this team does not have a whole lot of room for mistakes.
Chip, I'm curious, from your personal observation, what's the biggest area that needs to improve, and maybe what's one area or one unit that has looked pretty good thus far as we kind of hit this open date here?
Health needs to improve, but other than when it's part of tackling has improved. I would say blocking, whether it be run blocking or pass protection, that's got to be shored up because you've lost some linemen. I think that's an area and a group that I would hope to see the most improvement from in the next week or two, because you go to Louisiana Tech and then you come home for Kennesaw, and you play those 2 games in a 6-day span, and you'll play 3 games in 14 days coming up. So, but all midweek games. So, that's why I'm saying you hope you got a little bit of a not a breather, but at least a chance to catch your breath. But I think blocking, tackling would have been up there, but I think tackling has really improved over the last 2 weeks. Blocking, I think, is the next area that needs the most attention. And because right now the pass game and the run game have been pretty decent. So that's kind of where they are. And you've got, you starting tonight, it's all midweek games in Conference USA throughout the rest of the month of October.
I was going to ask you, Thursday, La Tech, Tuesday, Kennesaw State, Wednesday at Jack State. What's Chip Walters' personal preference? Do you got a certain midweek day that works better for you? I'm just curious there.
I like the Thursday nights if you can get them. Those to me are, that is kind of a semi-traditional alternate date. The Tuesdays and Wednesdays are a little, they're workable as long as your schedule around them is okay. I do not like playing on Friday nights, because I've got too much respect for the high school programs around, and I think that is a night that college football should stay away from if they can. But obviously, they have chosen not to stay away from that and play some games there. And we've had to play some Friday night games, but I'd prefer not to if we don't have to.
They've gotten some big checks to do so, and we've seen some administrators at Power 4 conferences that have came out and now voiced their displeasure about not playing on those dates. I guess I'm curious, at what level do the administrators have over, hey, we don't want to play on Friday nights for that reason that you kind of mentioned?
Well, that comes back to a conference deal, and it's not school by school by any stretch. It's whatever conference you might happen to be in, and everybody is trying to position themselves and get part of the TV package where it is. And last year, Conference USA made what I think universally was thought of as a major improvement in their television package, knowing that almost everything is on an ESPN platform or CBS Sports Network. You're not having to chase it around to stadium and places like that. You're on an ESPN platform or CBS Sports Network, and we saw that do very well for the MAC for years in November. But I'll go back to my original comment when this came down, is that I would much rather play midweek games in Conference USA cities in October than midweek games in MAC cities in November.
No doubt about that.
No.
So
and I would imagine the players would agree with you on that one.
Jacksonville, Alabama on an October night is much better than Kalamazoo, Michigan on November the 17th.
Well, I will tell you, Murfreesboro, Tennessee,
it's been known,
in October when Jacksonville State was up here last year. I mean, that was quite pleasant. We were out there in short sleeves and that kind of thing. So yeah, you'll take your chances in October. You pretty well know what you're going to get in November, particularly like you said, in Kalamazoo or in wherever Bowling Green State is, or in Miami of Ohio or whatever else. So
yeah, and I think then where the schools can then get involved is, you have some people that that will complain about tailgating, but what it does for schools that are like Conference USA schools or MAC schools or Sunbelt schools or the G4, the G5 schools, it gives them an opportunity to have an atmosphere on their campus with their student body in particular. And I think it's easier to get student crowds on weeknights than on weekends, because Mo and I remember when Middle was called a suitcase college. Well, that's not the case anymore. And used to, it would be tail lights. You would have a string of tail lights down Clark Boulevard, trying to make that turn onto 96, people going home from noon on Friday for the rest of the day. It's not that way anymore. That they don't go home on the weekends. They all work somewhere. They have jobs, things like that, so it's a little bit different. But it's that's why I think if you can make an event out of your weeknight games, and you guys have been over for a couple of home games so far, and the efforts that have been put forth for the Party in the Grove and things like that, they've been pretty well received by the students.
I guess real quick, I'm also curious, CBS Sports Network, ESPN2, CBS Sports Network, outside of the money, that fan experience, it seems like that's still a big value proposition for you guys and for schools like Middle, but also I'm curious, as the landscape with NIL, is having that unique night where you're one of the only games, if not the only game, is that still big in terms of it, just straight up recruiting in your mind?
Huge. And that's that is probably the only one redeeming factor to playing on Friday nights, is you are the only game there. But fortunately, we don't have any of those to talk about. And when you talk about the big checks, can you show me the big checks?
I cannot.
Okay, well that's a bit of a misnomer.
I'm hoping an open records request at least maybe could help me, but no, I cannot.
There's that's a bit of a misnomer, because the conference does the TV deal, and the schools all divide all that out and things like that. But it's not I will say this: it's not what you would want. It's like the SEC putting out $44 million checks at the end of the year. That's not happening in the group of five conferences. But I think it is up from where it had been, and that's some of that sometimes is a little bit of a misnomer. So but I think exposure is a big deal, and in particular in recruiting, when you are like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, you're one of only a handful of games that are going to be on TV that night.
And it's good news, bad news. If you have a great game on a Tuesday night, that is fantastic.
Everybody sees it. If you have a bad game,
you don't have such a great game, everybody sees it either way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, got to ask you your thoughts. We did not get to it. It was lined up as one of our top stories, but the other one kind of took precedent over it. But it has been reported by the Associated Press, so I feel pretty good about it. Apparently, Gonzaga is going to the PAC something.
Whatever.
For basketball only.
To the PAC.
Yeah, to the PAC.
Yeah.
They're going to the PAC for basketball only.
Is it basketball only, or is it all sports because they don't have football?
That's a good question. They're not going for football because they don't have it. Yeah, that's probably the better way to phrase it. Thank you for cleaning that up for me.
Sure.
But a little closer to home, Texas El Paso apparently is leaving Conference USA and will be entering the Mountain West.
Well, I'm looking at the Mountain West Conference website right now, and it is on there. And
there you go.
So
that's kind of like it being on Facebook. If it's on Facebook, it must be true.
Must be true.
Yeah.
But that will not happen until July 1st of 2026. So, there's a lot of water that can go under the bridge between now and then. But yeah, that's a, it's a good fit for them. And and when you go in, you look at Air Force, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, San Jose State, UNLV, and Wyoming. That's kind of a natural fit for them and always has been. They've been in the WAC before. What's going to be interesting is to see how New Mexico State plays out in all of this.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Well, look and see that the University of New Mexico is already in the Mountain West, and they look upon New Mexico State as a little brother. So I doubt you're going to be seeing New Mexico State go. You're hearing rumblings of Texas State out of the Sun Belt, and also you're hearing some rumblings of potentially Tarleton State to the Mountain West, and and it's rumored that Conference USA had flirted with Tarleton State a couple of years ago, and they've really done some work on facilities and upgrading their image. Billy Gillespie's their men's basketball coach, and I will say this.
Wait a minute. Whoa, stop.
Yeah.
You said they've done some work upgrading their image, and you said Billy Gillespie is their men's basketball coach. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I did say that.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, okay, go ahead.
He's a name. And,
he's a name.
And he has gone out there and won a lot of games.
Well, he can win games now.
Yeah. And so, but they've got they've done some facility work and they've done some work on their branding. They've got great looking uniforms. They are they have a purple uniforms. I grew up watching purple uniforms, and sometimes purple uniforms or green uniforms are hard to pull off, but they've done a really good job of it. Obviously, LSU has great purple uniforms. This is a different shade of purple, and Tarleton State's nickname is the Texans, and they have an outline of the state of Texas on their helmets. And with their version of a powerful T, I'll put it that way, and in their within that the framework of that logo, I hadn't followed them much until I started hearing some rumors a year or two ago, but there's going to be some more things that happen, and as this all moves around, the Mountain West, the PAC, whatever. They're all kind of jockeying and maneuvering. Is anything else going to happen with the Sun Belt Conference USA or the MAC right now? So, or is that pretty stable? Because you do have, Conference USA does have two more schools coming in next year, and that may have been the preemptive strike, knowing that UTEP and or New Mexico State might be on on the block with something going on, because you've got Delaware and Missouri State coming in July 1st of next year. So a lot of moving parts, and sometimes you need to buy a program to see who's in your league.
Absolutely. You talked about Tarleton State's unis, and it prompted me to go check it out. And their purple looks a lot like Texas Christian's purple. I mean,
it does.
TCU lost their right to be TCU after that beating that they took in the national semifinals against Georgia a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, they look a lot like the Horned Frogs purple looks like to me, which is kind of cool. And like you said, it's not easy to pull off. You got to hit that right shade, but it seems that they have done that. Chip, looking at the cheat sheet.
How about the NCAA March Madness story? That's kind of
what
one
about
that
that?
we'll be
Tell
talking about.
Yeah.
NCAA March Madness, their website / social media team, they're in Murfreesboro today and tomorrow, and with women's basketball, and kind of embedded with them for 48 hours.
Oh wow!
And
embedded with Rick Ensel for 48 hours.
That's an interesting 2 days right there.
They're going to have plenty
of content.
Yeah.
And but this will all be coming out later. Right? They're in there. They're shooting a lot of stuff. Doing interviews. A lot of video stuff being done. They had some special things planned for them, but something to kind of, if you follow on Twitter and Instagram and on the social media platforms, NCAA March Madness, and the Lady Raiders will be. They only go to a certain number of campuses during the off season, and Middle got selected this year, which I think bodes well for what is felt that the product on the floor may be like this year.
Well, I would imagine it bodes well for what the product on the floor is expected to be, and for what the product on the floor has been. I mean, going down to LSU and knocking off Louisville, as Haley Van Lith told folks they were going to do. By the way,
yes, she did. in her own words, she told them that.
Yeah, not exactly those words, but yeah, words to that effect. Yeah, I mean, I think in women's basketball, the Middle Tennessee State brand is holding up on a national level, and they're kind of making themselves worthy of that type of attention.
No, that's true. And Coach Ensel, one of his goals is always to be in the national conversation year in, year out, and they've done that by not only scheduling a national schedule, but winning in a national schedule, and whatever the streak is now of consecutive years in postseason play, and last year kind of knocking that door down, getting into the second round, and enjoying
should have been in the third round, but
enjoying some Louisiana cooking last year down at the Assembly Center. But talking to people who know basketball and have watched them work out, they're saying this may be a better group than last year, and that's no slight on Savannah Wheeler and everything else. It's just that you always try to continue to garner more talent in your program, and that's continued, and I think between them and the guys, I think it's going to be a fun winter in Murphy Center this year.
Well, I hope you're right. Certainly something to look forward to if that is the case. Group of 5 guys raising funds for flood relief in Boone, North Carolina. We talked last week about that huge Liberty Appalachian State game getting knocked off the schedule as a result of Hurricane Helene. Helene, excuse me. But that was just kind of the tip of the iceberg in light of everything that's taken place over in that area. And so the group of 5 guys is doing some charitable work for that area, apparently.
Yeah, our pal Jeff Murphy and all of his cohorts that are part of the group of 5 guys that do now it's a daily podcast that they do way earlier in the morning than I would ever want to get up, but they do it every day. But but they've gone and they've been kind of a flagship media outlet for Group of Five football, and have been a voice out there that has continued to beat the drum and shed light on people, on programs like like the App States and the Liberties and all of those across all of those conferences that we continue to talk about, and in particular that since Boone, North Carolina is the home of Appalachian State, and they have suffered greatly in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and have been almost cut off from the world. That and Asheville, that's one area in particular that the Group of Five guys, they have a GoFundMe. So if you go to their socials, you can find that, and should you so desire, you can help out a little bit with a few shekels there that'll go directly to folks in the Boone area that certainly need it.
Absolutely. Finally, a little cross country love for the Blue Raiders.
That's right. Cross country is goes on in the fall before we get to the indoor track season. But Alan Kiplagat of Kenya, an MTSU freshman, he was named the men's freshman of the week, and Odilia Jepchumba, who is also from Kenya and is a freshman at MTSU, both were named Conference USA Freshman of the Week for their efforts this past weekend at the Gans Creek Invitational. And don't ask me where Gans Creek is, but I'm sure we could look it up. But they did well there, and so they received the weekly honors. So good job for them. Keith Roman continues to have his connections over in Africa that have always had a pipeline. He's kind of picked up where Dean Hayes left off and has continued to do very well with that.
Absolutely. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us as he does most every Tuesday, even from the beach. We appreciate your dedication to the show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the invite, and so yep. We just again want to think about all those folks who've got it worse than we do right now, for sure, and hope everything turns out as well as possible.
Absolutely. What's for dinner tonight?
I'm sure it will be something that swims within the waters, but we'll figure that out here in just a little bit. But
all right. Well, enjoy it, whatever it is, and we'll catch up with you next week.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Chip. When we continue here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will talk Tennessee Titans, because we'll get to talk Tennessee Titans after a win, which is something we've not been able to do yet in the Brian Callahan era. So we're going to enjoy the next segment. Hopefully you will as well. Stay tuned.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. No matter what's happening in the world, or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
He shoots, and he scores!
Pop 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, we will be giving you our, this is a funny segment. I'm looking forward to it, but our top 5 movies we've not seen.
We don't, yes.
You're on.
Get us really turned on there.
There we go.
We don't want to give ourselves homework, but we're kind of doing that in a sense. But yeah, some movies that we have not seen. This is a great topic, and
we are going to get raked over the coals. Again, you've not seen fill in the blank. No, I haven't.
Yeah. This is the one where you're at a party and they're like, "Oh yeah, what about that scene whenever so and so does this?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've never seen that movie."
Didn't see it.
And then everybody goes, "You've never seen that?"
And that becomes a discussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great icebreaker, great party game, and should be fun coming up in the final segment.
Absolutely. I'm really going to expose myself here in a little bit.
I've got some.
Literally.
Some,
well, figuratively speaking, not literally. Nobody wants to see that. But
we just got to these new studios. Let's
stay for a while.
We haven't met the neighbors even yet. Yeah, you're right.
Right now, though, let's talk a little Titans. Congratulations to Brian Callahan. After 3 outings in which he did not get his first career head coaching victory, he picked it up last night, 31-12 down at Miami, which the Titans seem to surprisingly have some success down on South Beach.
Yeah, knocked them off in primetime last year and did it again. Wasn't without a little bit of drama, as we'll get into, but by the end, you're like, man, this was they kind of have their number a little bit. Mm-hmm. And as a Jets fan, it's always good to see the Dolphins take an L. So I was double dipping last night.
There you go, a win-win for Wade. It had been 38 games since the Titans had scored 30 points or more in a regular season contest, and now they needed a safety to get there, but I don't think anybody's giving it back because it included a defensive score on an intentional grounding in the end zone call.
Yeah, the Titans were so desperate to eclipse that mark that, you'll take anything you can get by hook or by crook, as they would say, because that was kind of, you'd like to go out and just put up everything with your offense, and maybe, who knows, that's still to come. But for now, at least we'll celebrate and enjoy that one.
But, we've talked to folks. We've talked to Ben Arthur, we've talked to Teresa Walker. We've talked to different folks around this team that have kind of said, maybe we needed to pump the brakes a little bit, because while they acquired a lot of talent over the offseason, you couldn't just expect all of that talent to mesh from day one. And so maybe what we saw last night was some of the meshing, in a successful effort.
I think you're right. And ended up, like I said, being a good night. A couple big performances we saw last night. And I mean, especially had a feeling he might play well, but Meatloaf, Devondre Sweat finishes not only as the best Titans grade, but he finishes with the highest PFF grade of any defensive lineman for all of the week 4 last
Any
night.
defensive lineman in the National Football League.
He graded as the highest defensive lineman effort last night. I mean, he was all over the place. And I think a lot of folks on the national stage were kind of like, what is this dude doing out here tracking down guys 2, 3, 4 yards down the field? What is he doing out near the sidelines? With Simmons being out, we talked about it on the show yesterday, somebody had to step up. And Sweat is certainly going to get his share of the flowers, and deservedly so. But Sebastian Joseph Day also had a mammoth game in the interior. I know it was the Dolphins, and they kept showing 2 on the sideline. If you're a Dolphins fan, you got to be devastated because they are a totally different offense when he's pulling the strings. But, hey, the Titans are desperate for kudos, and we'll take what we got last night.
And all you can do is play whoever lines up across from you. So the Titans aren't giving it back. Now, how much of this game, how much of this performance, how much of this win is due to Mason Rudolph coming into this ball game after Will Levis, who managed to throw an interception in limited play before leaving,
I think. Yeah,
before leaving the game with a right shoulder injury? How much of this is Mason Rudolph coming in, managing the game, not winning it necessarily, but certainly not losing it? What did he throw for 85 yards, I think? Pretty pedestrian performance on his part, but again, to harken back to a former coaching regime, didn't do stupid stuff to hurt the team.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big question mark for this franchise the rest of the season is, number one, where do you go potentially at the position, but kind of where does your scheme go? Because Callahan is brought in to, in theory, bring this kind of high-flying 21st century kind of offense to Nashville. And if you're still winning games playing, 1800s football, that's going to be an interesting dichotomy there because the Titans do have some pieces to do some really modern things offensively. I don't know that Rudolph is your guy to do that, but he's also not making, to your point, some of the mistakes that we saw from Levis. So the Titans got kind of some decisions to make here after this bye week going forward.
If last night was any indication, the decision has been made. And Brian Callahan said last night, if Will Levis is healthy, he's our quarterback.
And that kind of is to my point. I think when we bring in Callahan, if this were Vrabel, Mason Rudolph probably would have maybe even started prior. He might have started the game last night. But that's a different regime, and that's a different approach to the way you want to run your offense. And so that's what's going to be fascinating for me is to see now if Callahan kind of rips up the script. You're 1-3, but you're in one of the more topsy-turvy divisions. The Jaguars almost beat the Texans, and if they had beat the Texans, that division is wide open. So does Callahan tinker with the script? Because I don't know that Mason Rudolph is really brought in to run a Callahan's offense, but if he's willing to modify it and, do what Rudolph does well, there could be some room there. Otherwise, you maybe just go back to Levis and see what happens. And this will be a continuing storyline, undoubtedly.
Without question. I think, though, at that point, the question becomes whether or not it's Callahan's script to tear up. Because everything that this team told us over the course of the offseason was, we're trying to find out if Will Levis can be QB1 long-term.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that they said along those lines kind of puts me in the mindset that we're not necessarily trying to win in 2024. We're just trying to figure out if we can win with Will Levis from 2025 on, or if we need to go get a guy in the 2025 draft. And if that's the case, then that lines up with what Callahan said last night, that as long as Will Levis is healthy, he's our quarterback. We don't have a quarterback controversy. He didn't say that, but that's the next line there. You know, this isn't Mason Rudolph versus Will Levis.
Right.
Regardless of what we get out of Mason Rudolph when he's on the field. If Will Levis is healthy, he's our guy. And we're going to sink or swim with him.
And that's what the Titans fans
don't want to hear.
You got to, quietly, you got to come to grips with, it's fun to win games, but I mean,
that ain't the goal.
But the question is, do you want Rudolph or,
and they don't.
Do you want Rudolph to, maybe guide you to 8 wins and then be there in the last 2 weeks of the season, scrapping and clawing, maybe for a playoff berth, and pick somewhere in the 10 to 14, 15 range? Or
do you want to bottom out?
Or do you want to find it? Yeah, find out undoubtedly if Levis is capable at all, and the early indications are not promising, and then go forward. I mean, and it's weird as a fan, right? Because you see the win and you get excited and you want to celebrate, but long term your goals are different.
It's a really weird dynamic. It's a weird place to be, knowing that that winning is not the primary objective for your team.
Let me crack my knuckles here. As a resident Jets fan, I'm familiar with this situation.
But they never really came out and said it. That was just what happened.
And they started winning games, which it looks pretty bad now. But they tanked or tried to tank for Trevor Lawrence, and then ended up winning like their final 3 games of the season and get stuck with Wilson. It is a weird phenomenon. The real long-term goal that I don't know that it's been really, really kind of, to me, your long-term goal is you want to be at least relevant / very, very competitive when that new stadium opens. And you got to do right now whatever that takes, and it's probably going to involve, unfortunately, a lot of losses along the way, or some shrewd trades, potentially, if you have some picks here and there. But yeah, to me, that is the long-term goal. When you open in 27, you want to have a sellable product in Nashville.
And so that means, again, you're going to ride with number 8. Well, you're going to ride with the Mayo Messiah, as friend of the show Mike Patton has called him. You're going to ride with him in 24, and either he is the guy that rolls out there when the new stadium opens, or you get the guy in next year's draft. But if that's the case, you can't miss on that guy.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the fascinating thing. The other alternative is maybe you end up, I'm looking at tankathon.com right now, as if the season were to end. They would end at number 6.
That's new. I've never heard of that.
Oh, great website for all sports. Tankathon will get you there. But, it's too early to look at this. But the big thing is, the quarterback class this year does not really seem just super promising. But that's where if you get a first, second, or third pick, maybe you can do a shrewd trade. And then all of a sudden, now maybe you are in the arch sweepstakes, 2 years from now. So these are the long-term things that are very awkward to kind of break down, because on one hand, you want to win games and it's fun to win games, but you kind of want to just toil in mediocrity. And by winning games and finishing roughly 500, that's kind of where you're headed right now.
Right. And toward tanking, if you're tanking for a quarterback in 2025, who is it?
That's what I'm saying.
It ain't Carson Beck.
No.
If Saturday night was any indication.
Yeah, well, the last 4 minutes of the game, maybe Carson Beck, but yeah, otherwise.
Well, but he played the first 56 too.
Yeah. So, and the bad part is the Titans, you can't openly, again, this is such a delicate song and dance, because you don't want to lose the fans that are on board now, because again, you're trying to win them over for that new stadium in 27, while also potentially attracting new fans. And so they have to kind of carefully navigate the waters, and they've got a talented enough roster that they can't just full on go tank.
No.
There are some other teams that are already kind of beaten them to the punch. The Panthers got a pretty, they kind of staked their claim on that block earlier this year, even though they messed around and won a game. So this will be interesting, and this will be a discussion that will be fun to revisit here in about 4 or 5 more weeks.
It's in one other thing that we need to revisit, and probably need to try to revisit it with some folks closer to the team than us. But how do you sell a DeAndre Hopkins or, a Kenneth Murray or some of the other folks on, it's okay if we don't win right now.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not having to make those decisions, because the interesting thing is if you get going in the right direction, and I mean, like I said, who knows, if the Jags had just hung on that game, I mean, they just gave it away right there at the end versus the Texans. This division will be wide open. I think Titans fans, if you told them today, hey, either we go with Rudolph and we will be competitive and we might be there in the final 2 weeks of the season to get into the play or win the division, perhaps. I think that's, that's a sellable proposition. But with Houston finally squeaking that out, I mean, the Titans are 1-3 and the Texans are 3-1. Crazier things. Nobody's really played a lot of division games just yet, other than that Jags-Texans matchup. So it's going to be interesting to watch down the stretch. The good news for me, at least, was also, I know it was the Dolphins, but the defense for 3 now out of your 4 weeks has looked really, really solid. And I think coming into this season, that was maybe one of the 2 units, if you had your pick, that you maybe had more question marks about.
Sure. Yeah. When we have talked about the Detroit Lions, I have voiced my concerns about being able to trust Jared Goff. Well, I'm not going to say that he heard me, but dude went 18 for 18 last night as the Lions defeated Seattle 42-29.
He threw a perfect game.
He threw an incomplete pass that was negated by a penalty. He was trying to throw a pass when he got tackled in the end zone for a safety. Safeties in each game last night, by the way. But 18 of 18 for 292.
And caught a touchdown.
I think it was the second time in history that a guy, they are the 8th duo in league history. He and Amon-Ra St. Brown are the 8th duo in league history to throw and catch a touchdown from each other.
Man, as predicted, the Titans were kind of the aesthetically less pleasing game, but the Lions and Seahawks delivered. I thought it had even more points than I initially anticipated, and it was a fun game. Geno is absolutely slinging it out there, and if DK, man, they had a couple plays where DK kind of had some drops and some plays. The Lions got a big win. The only downfall with that, Mo, was you mentioned Goff. His coach, Dan Campbell, apologized in the press conference. He said he gave the game ball to somebody else. He was so upset. How do you do that, man? He said he didn't know that he was perfect. I mean, maybe even he was caught off guard by what he saw from Goff last night.
Geno, 38 of 56 for 395.
I will say this. If Geno is throwing 56 times a game, as good as he's played, that is not your winning recipe if you're Mike McDonald. They want to win on ground and pound and defense.
Absolutely. Let's take a break real quick here on, as quick as 3.5 minutes can be, here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, it's Top 5 Tuesday, Top 5 movies we've not seen. Stay tuned. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
He shoots, and he scores!
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. This is our final segment on Tuesday, Top 5 Tuesday. But before we get into it, I want to mention earlier today, man, we've been hit hard with death over the last few days. And this is a little fitting here. Starred in Good Times, starred in Roots, which I did see. John Amos, who played college football at Colorado State, had a tryout with the Denver Broncos as well as with the Kansas City Chiefs. So it fits here. Died earlier today at the age of 84. And, you know, coming on the heels of Pete Rose and Dikembe Mutombo and everything else. Man, this is rough.
Comes in threes.
Yeah, so there you go. But wanted to mention that and wanted to mention it before we get into our Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia, which whatever shape you're in, Dallas Steele will get you in a better one. You can find him at Steel Athletes. That's STEEL Athletes.com. Again, Mid-South 5 Fitness bringing you Top 5 Tuesday. Movies that we have not seen. And so, with that said, Wade, the floor is yours.
Coming out hot, right out of the gate, Pretty Woman, 1990. Hadn't seen it. Julia, I love you, but have not had a chance to see the great one between her and Richard Gere.
We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. I've not seen Rudy.
You're implying that's by choice, though, or no?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
I have no intention of seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a number of reasons.
These are the ones that just escaped me. But yeah, that's if I had not seen Rudy growing up, yeah, I'd be with you on the boycott there as well. Up next for me, go to 79, Apocalypse Now. I know that's one of the all-time, great movies. Marlon Brando back doing his thing. Hadn't seen it. Apocalypse Now has got to be on the list for me from Vietnam back in the day.
Tony Kemp mentioned it in his segment earlier in the show. I've not seen Moneyball, and it's not a situation that makes sense to me as a movie. It started as a book. Michael Lewis wrote it as a book, and it seemed like an interesting read. I've not read it either, but as a movie, I don't know how it translates, and I guess people can tell me, but I've not seen it.
Great movie. It's one of those crossovers that even casual fans or non-baseball fans will appreciate. And if you are a baseball fan, you get all the juicy details in there as well. It's definitely worth scoping out. It's worth checking out now, especially because you're going to have a walk down memory lane when you hear some of the players' names. David Justice obviously featured heavily in the movie, being one. So worth checking out. I'll go with you with baseball. Throw it back, though, to 92, A League of Their Own. Never seen, League of Their Own. I got love for Tom Hanks.
You got love for Gina Davis.
I mean, I feel like I can quote many of the scenes.
You've just not seen it.
I have not seen it. And I've got a weird thing. I don't like watching movies on television. And, that's a movie that's always or used to be always on TV. And it kind of escaped me for that reason. I want to sit down and be able to watch the whole thing.
You got to see it for the climactic scene so that you can take part in the argument. Did she drop the ball on purpose on the play at the plate or not?
Okay.
Yeah, you got to see that.
It's on my list.
Okay. I have been dragged for not seeing this one, and I will probably get dragged more. Tombstone. Haven't seen it.
Good movie.
That's what I've been told.
I hadn't seen it in a while. I need to go back and check. You may have just booked my Tuesday night here after football. Up next for me, 85, The Goonies. Again, always on television. I've not seen The Goonies, and I get roasted, every time we bring up, some good movies and some quotes start coming out, and I hadn't seen it.
I've not either, if it makes you feel better. I'll tell you what else I've not seen. I've not seen Jurassic Park. Never really felt a need.
It is a classic.
Yeah.
We saw it with the Nashville Symphony this past year, and that was...
Oh, wow.
It is epic. John Williams on the score, Michael Crichton with the book. It still holds up to this day. We talked about Brett Favre earlier last week on the program. Something About Mary, have not seen still. It's one of those movies where I've seen many scenes, and again, you feel like you can quote a lot of it, but I still have never seen it all the way through. So my last a pseudo tip of the cap there to Brett Favre as There's Something About Mary.
This is something that I probably should have seen and probably should see. I think it's still probably applicable even now. To Kill a Mockingbird, I've not seen.
I don't know that that's Atticus. That's Matt McConaughey, right?
No, it's older. No, that's a different. No.
Different. Okay.
No, this is old.
The old school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Atticus Finch back in the day.
Exactly.
No, I hadn't seen that one either. My high school English professors will be upset that I've not
quite
seen that.
absolutely.
We made you read this book and you didn't even watch the movie. Stand By Me, I just watched for the first time in like 8 months ago. Other ones on my list that I've not seen, The Avengers. My thing with the superhero movies, I don't want to watch them because I'll go down a wormhole and it'll be all she wrote. So I haven't seen that, and I haven't seen The Notebook, which I know is producer Mark's. He's going to be devastated to know that I haven't seen that. So
There we go. That is Top 5 Tuesday, again brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Thala Steel getting you swole, if that's what you want to be. Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. You can find him again. Franklin, Columbia, Mid-South 5 Fitness. That's going to do it for Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will be back in the Lee Company studios, maybe not necessarily this one, but in the Lee Company studios at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Be sure and join us. We'll see you then.